Welcome to Jazz Time. Jazz Time is an online store that buys, sells, and trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can easily choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their own home. If you like this watch and would like to purchase it at the lowest price anywhere online, click the link in the description below to buy it at jazztime.com. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Richard Mille Automatic Winding Lifestyle Flyback Chronograph, reference RM7201 in rose gold. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the history, then talk to you about where this watch stands in the lineup of other similar RMs, then talk to you about the case, bezel, dial, bracelet movement, and finally try it on and give you my final thoughts. So let's start with the history. Now, Richard Mille has only been out for I think about 25 years or so. It is the youngest of all the major brands, and when I say major, I mean the four biggest: Rolex, Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, and Richard Mille. Those are the four most commonly and best watches in my opinion, and not only just my opinion, but many others as well. And so it's only been around for like 25 years. The RM72 is the lifestyle flyback, as RM, or Richard Mille, likes to call it, and it was only produced back in, I think it was first released in like 2019 or 2020. It's only been around for like 4 or 5 years, not a very long time at all. What makes it special is it's the first time that the entire watch, or I should say the entire movement, was produced in-house by Richard Mille itself. Before, Richard Mille was using outsourced parts, not necessarily a bad thing though. They were having Arnaud and Poppy create the movements for them. And actually they still are. They're still having the Arnaud and Poppy create the movements, which it's actually a branch of Audemars Piguet Group. And so that company was producing movements for Richard Mille, but for the first time they produced their own movement all in-house, as in themselves, Richard Mille, they did it. And this watch is the result of that. And what makes it so special is that it's the first time that the watch is actually like a wearable size. All the other chronographs that Richard Mille were making before were much larger. And I'm thinking about the Richard Mille 11, which was a legendary watch. It put them on the map. 11, the 1103, 1102. The 11 was a gigantic watch. It was like 50 millimeters from top to bottom, 17 or 16 millimeters thick, 45 millimeters wide. So now this watch is a much more manageable size. I'll get to the specifics in a little bit when I talk about the dimensions and stuff, but it's a much nicer size now, and it's actually the reason why they call it a lifestyle flyback, because it can actually be worn every day. It's not so gigantic like their previous watches. Okay, so the 72 Richard Mille's chronograph that they believe can be worn on an everyday basis, and hence the name is lifestyle. Okay, and that's a little bit of the history. Now let's talk about where it stands in the lineup for the other ones. Now, the 72 is currently only made of 4 materials: rose gold, which is what you see here, titanium, black ceramic, and white ceramic. And then they also make some diamond versions of it, but it's just, I guess it'll be 5 variations then. In that diamond variation, they technically make different variations of it: snow setting, medium setting, baguette settings. So I guess there's more different variations, but I clumped them all into one. So the 72s with diamond settings are on them, and there's different ones. Okay, now also Richard Mille, as of 2024, is only making the 5 major categories of watches that are available to the broad public. And by broad public, I mean they only make 5,000 watches a year, so it's not that broad, but they make 5 categories. The first is the 7201, which is what you see here, the lifestyle chronograph. They make a 6701, which is extra thin. It is cheaper than this one. They make a 6702, which is the evolution of the 6701, which is in carbon. And then they make the RM3001, which is a little bit bigger than the 72. And then they make the really big one, the 6501, and that is much bigger than this. So those are the 5, and anything outside of that for men is just going to be a limited piece. And those are all going to be like 500,000 or more. They actually do make a 3503 Nadal, but that's quite expensive. It's 500,000 or 400,000, something like that. expensive. So anyways, for all intents and purposes, those are the 5 RMs that you can choose from, at least on jazztime.com. Alright, and for the 72, it is the most comfortable in my opinion, and that's enough about where it stands. Let's talk about it. Let's start with the case. Now, the case, let me give you the dimensions here. Okay, I'm going to look at them up real quick. So the dimensions, top to bottom, lug to lug, from the 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock is 47 millimeters. To give you some reference, an offshore Audemars Piguet is about 53 millimeters. The largest one that RM makes, which is the 65 split second, is 50 millimeters. So 47 is a good size. It's a bit smaller. There really isn't anything smaller than this one, and when you see it on my wrist, you'll kind of have to agree that it's a good size because you can see some of the head as well as some of the bracelet at the same time, so it just makes for very good proportions on the wrist. And also, the thickness is only 11.7 millimeters thin. It's actually even thinner than a Datejust, and considering it's packing in all of this information, the chronograph and all of this crazy dial, it's remarkably thin. And also, from left to right, the 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock position is 38.4 millimeters, so 38 millimeters. For example, the Submariner is 41 millimeters in those dimensions, so that left to right is also thinner than the Submariner and even the Datejust. So it is quite a sleek watch. And of course, it has these dimensions because it is tonneau shaped. It's tonneau shaped, allowing it to look longer from the 12 o'clock to the 6 o'clock than it is from the 9 to 3. Okay, and that's the case. Actually, let's keep talking about the case here for a little bit. So as you can see, the case is made out of rose gold, and the only other material that is similar to this is titanium, as I mentioned earlier. Now, you might be wondering, why should you go with this one? And, well, as you see here, it is, of course, in rose gold. It looks beautiful, and actually, it's my favorite combination. And, okay, well, I take it back. The ceramic is also very nice, but the gold is very nice as well, and I just want to say it, what I like about this rose gold is it looks very luxurious. But since the watch is very sporty, it's combining that luxuriousness and sportiness, which is what Formula 1 and a lot of race cars encapsulate in themselves. They're very beautiful, they're very fast, they're very functional, but they're also very beautiful, and that's what Richard Mille does. They make a very beautiful watch, but it's also very functional. And so this gold adds that luxuriousness to that functionality, right? And I just really like how it all ties together like this. And it's the entire thing too. The signs are gold. And so, yeah, it looks nice. And of course, you can change these straps and make them all different colors too. All right. Oh yeah, I might mention this too. For the case, so they make RMs that are small like this. They put them with 2 screws. Here it has 4 screws going up and down, top to bottom on each side. On some of the smaller ones, like for example the RM10 or RM29 or even the Smiley RM88, or some of these smaller ones of this size, they don't put as many screws. And I like the screws. 4 screws on the side, it makes it look more sporty as opposed to just 2. I really like it as opposed to compare it to, say, the 67, which is extra thin. It only has those 2 screws, whereas on this one, 4. To me, it just looks more Richard Mille-like with those 4 screws. And you'll notice actually on the top of the case, it has that satin finish. Very similar to AP in the sense that the top has its satin finish. It also has beveled edges, then that's high polish. Then if you look at it from the side, you turn it to the side profile, it has these structural beams or something, and that's actually to hold the screws so that the screws can, screw into the case. Pretty cool if you ask me. Alright, I swear that's all for the case. Now let's move on to the movement. Now I could tell you on and on about all the technical stuff within this movement, and I actually read through it before I did this video just to kind of prepare myself for it, but I'm not going to say all of that because I think this website would take it down for being, 4 hours long. So I'm going to save you the time. If you would like to research it yourself, by all means, it is on their website. I am going to point out a few things. First, as I mentioned, it's all in-house, meaning it was made by Richard Mille. Okay, that's awesome. It looks badass. And what I have noticed about this one versus the older ones that I've reviewed and looked at and held in my hand and sold is that the movement looks much tighter in terms of space. There's like no space within this. The old RMs before 2020, they were created to have lots of open space. Skeletonized, yes, but still with open space within the case. These new versions are completely packed. Every space is filled. There is no emptiness within this. I don't even know how they could do that, how they could rearrange everything to fit, but they did. So it just looks more complete. It's packed like an engine just with stuff. I think it looks much better and much more well put together. And that's one of the main things I've noticed about modern Richard Milles as opposed to the older Richard Milles. Okay, now specifically, the movement is a CRMC1, that's the movement CRMC1. All right, and it has a power of 50 hours. It uses base plate in titanium, grade 5 that is, and they use an alloy of titanium, aluminum, vanadium, whatever. They make a lot of great stuff. They use aerospace, aeronautics type materials to make sure that the movement is made to the absolute best. And yeah, so then they also have within the movement, they have this. They call it innovative. I don't think it's actually that innovative though. They say it has a column wheel, but a lot of watches use column wheels. They say that this is a little different because it has 6 little columns on the wheel. I'm not sure if that's special, but at any rate, they say that they've done this special thing to their movement, which I wholeheartedly believe. I can't fully describe it here, at least in a timely manner. That's why I think it's best if you just look at their website. Basically, they figured out how to reinvent the wheel. At least that's what they're claiming. It says that the chronograph is done very nicely and it's totally different from anyone else, which again, I wholeheartedly believe here. Richard Mille is known for making improvements and doing things that are just better than everybody else. And that is their movement. Again, I'm not diving into this. Except I lied. Okay, I do want to talk about this. And okay, so you could technically count the movement and the dial as the same thing, because when you look at it from the front and the back, it's all part of the same thing. A part of the beauty is being able to take the watch off and look at the back and look at the movement. So I want to include all of this in one section. The movement looks crazy awesome. I love the cutout rotor. I love the balanced wheel. It has this crazy V-shaped suspension bridge and all of the stuff packed in here super tight. It's all in this gray titanium sand-blasted look. It's super lightweight, it's super compact, and you even have to have a loop to look at it carefully because it's so compact, and I just think it looks awesome. I think most of us can probably appreciate it, especially if you're watching this video, considering that you want to buy it. It looks pretty awesome. Anyways, that is all of the movement and the dial. Let's talk about the bracelet. The bracelet is your standard Richard Mille bracelet. It's rubber and it has that titanium flip-lock buckle, which is how all RMs are. Even for the most expensive and the least expensive, they all have the same buckle style and it has not changed. Actually, it's changed a couple of times over the past 25 years, but let's see, more or less it's the same. The buckle has gone through some revisions. I've seen the older one, this is the newest one, and the strap's not hard to change. You can change it from different colors. My favorite on the gold would probably be orange. White looks good too, and maybe gray. Alright, and you can actually even go a little bit of lighter blue or this neon green. I've seen that done as well. They make straps in those colors too. Okay, so anyways, that's the strap. Not much to write home about, so let's try this watch on and let me give you my thoughts. Now, I am 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, and I have a wrist size of 7.5 inches. And as you can see, the watch does not look small on me. It doesn't even look big on me either. To me, it is just the perfect size. I really like Richard Mille. It is one of my favorite brands, if not my favorite brand. I think when it comes to sports watches, I think it would be hard to say that anyone has done it better. I think they've done it number one. There's really no one else close, except for maybe Audemars Piguet. But when it comes to ultra hype sports watches, RM really has a category in of its own, especially when it comes to the price. I mean, they were charging almost $300,000 for these watches, but by the way, you can get this one at jazztime.com under retail. I believe retail as of 2023 or 24 is actually right around $308,000. We're selling it in the high 200s. So that's quite a bargain, right? It's below retail. That's what matters. And that's the RM72. Of all the watches that are wearable, everyday watches from Richard Mille, the 72 is my favorite. I like it the best because it has the best features and it wears the best. It's super modern. It's not too massive or too small. The only thing left to do, in my opinion, when you're looking at the 72 is decide which material. Do you want to have it in that titanium, which is more of an everyday watch, or a gold, which can be an everyday too, but you can very easily dress it up? They're all so very good. The rose one, to me, is really the most luxurious of them all because of the gold color. Anyways, if you like this watch and would like to buy it, click the link in the description below to buy it at jazztime.com.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to Model as seen in video, click on it and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists. If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at jazztime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in JazzTime, plus the brand, model and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.